how's it going? It's me, Betty Jean. Today's video is my monthly reading wrap up. Get ready with me. I'm gonna be doing this makeup while I talk about all 15 books I read in the month of July. As always, this will be as spoiler-free as possible. I'm just gonna give you the general gist and my thoughts on them without like spoiling the overall plot and things like that. And as always, I'll also have all of these books linked in my description box. I'll also link my new Amazon storefront in my description box where I do have a book category where I'll be slowly adding lots of my favorite books. So some of the books I talked about, or maybe all of them at this point, will be in that category as well. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. I'm doing the best I can. But yeah, before we hop into this video, as far as my accessories today go, this is just an old basic choker, and then these earrings used to be plugs from the brand Hear No Evil jewelry that I turned into earrings. So yeah, without further ado, let's just hop in, do some makeup, and chat about books. All right, friends, I'm gonna dive into this makeup. I'm gonna start by priming with my Flower Beauty Hydro Pop Primer before I get into the rest of my makeup and talk about these books. How many did I even read? I think I read 15. I didn't even count. Hold please. Yep, I read 15 books in the month of July. I got through quite a few. Part of it definitely came from traveling early in July. I went to New York for my birthday, so I read like in the airport, on the plane ride, on various subway station excursions, things like that. So I was able to get through a lot of books, but I also pretty much exclusively read in my free time. I didn't have that much free time this month. I feel like my month was devoted a lot to work on YouTube and in the salon, and any ounce of free time I had, I dedicated to reading. I didn't really play games too much this month, so I think it all makes sense, honestly. But while I talk about the first one, I'm gonna go in with my Sigma Skin Tint. I believe this launches on the 6th. And I've really been liking this so far. I think it's beautiful. The first book I read in the month of July was This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi. One of my friends decluttered this to me, I don't know, a year ago probably, and I finally got around to reading it. I was interested in it, especially because this is the same author as the Shatter Me series, which I did enjoy for the most part. This is a like mythology inspired sort of fantasy. It kind of deals with princes and jinn and things like that, things of that nature, magic-y sort of stuff. We have our main character, Eliza, I think is how you pronounce her name. She's the heir to like a long lost jinn kingdom. She's kind of just hiding in plain sight, if you will. And then there's this prince, his name is Cameron. He's heard prophecies that his king is going to die. He's confused as to like how this person that he's interested in has to do with these ancient jinn, how she connects with the prophecy of the king dying. It was very much a kind of like forbidden romance while she's trying to regain her position in royalty. Overall, something about it I didn't love. I wasn't obsessed with it. It was entertaining enough. It was a very fast read. There were aspects I definitely enjoyed about it, but I don't know. I found it very unremarkable, which might sound a little harsh. I don't think it was a bad book. I just gave it a solid 3 stars because I didn't feel like 2 was fair because I didn't dislike it. I didn't have a hard time getting through it or anything, but I think there are 2 more in the series, and I will be honest, I have 0 interest in continuing. If I ever do decide to go back, I'll just rent the books on my Libby app for my Kindle instead of buying the physical books because I just wasn't like super invested. I feel like just the characters themselves, like even though the story itself was fairly interesting with the whole forbidden romance and she's trying to get her power back in a situation where her power was taken away, I just feel like I wasn't invested in the characters themselves. So I didn't really care what was happening to them for the most part, but it was okay. I don't think it was bad. If that like sounds like your cup of tea, you might enjoy it. The next book I dove into though is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is the first of a trilogy, and I had such a fun time with it. I'd been wanting to read it for a while. I'm gonna go in with my e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer, by the way. Basically, we have these 2 sisters, Scarlett and Donatella. This book is following Scarlett mostly specifically, and basically they've both kind of fantasized about joining in and participating on this Caraval adventure that travels around and includes people. It's like this big game. It's a whole thing, very magical, whimsical, kind of weird. It's this big once-a-year performance that they've always dreamed of attending. They also have a really bad home life with their father, so all the more reason for them to do a little bit of escapism. This particular year, an invitation to attend Caraval actually arrives, which was crazy. It was so unexpected. And of course, Scarlet is so stoked. With the help of this, I'll call him an acquaintance because she doesn't really know him at this point. He helps get her to Caraval because she needs assistance actually getting to it, even though she has the invitation. Once she gets there, she learns that this season's Caraval kind of completely revolves around her sister Donatella. It takes place over 5 nights, and everything she's been told about Caraval is that everything is fake. Any feelings you feel, love, betrayal, revenge, anything you feel or encounter is fake. But she's having a hard time like believing what that line of real and fake is when it comes to her sister. It was very adventure-packed. It was very unique. I've never really read anything quite like this. I loved the whole Caraval kind of setting. I loved meeting all the different interesting characters and kind of seeing what everything was about. I had such a fun time with this book. I gave it 4 stars. It made me super excited to continue the series. I really very much enjoyed it. The next book I read was an ebook on my Libby app, so I read the 3rd Bridgerton book. It was an offer from a gentleman. This was Benedict's book, which I'm so excited for his season to come. At this moment, I've only watched seasons 1 and 2. I still haven't watched Queen Charlotte or season 3 yet. But as far as I know, Benedict doesn't have like his moments yet like he does in the books. Like I'm sure things happen to him in season 3, but we haven't like gotten that far yet. But either way, I was very excited to get to his book. I think he's a cool character. His story revolves around obviously himself and then this other character, Sophie. Their story is very much like a Cinderella story type of deal. She is the, like, I don't want to say illegitimate child, but like the child of somebody in like higher up. I forget his title. But it was like he had a kid with the mistress kind of thing. It wasn't like his official child in this 1800s kind of world. And then eventually he remarries. The stepmother wants nothing to do with her. She has 2 stepsisters that are also kind of taught to like not want anything to do with Sophie. Eventually her father dies and she is just at the mercy of her like evil stepmother and evil stepsisters, if you will. One year she sneaks off to attend this masquerade. It might have been at one of the Bridgertons' houses or the Bridgertons were just there. I don't remember exactly the correlation there, but it was this big important masquerade that she attends. She ends up meeting Benedict, of course, disguised in her mask. They have a moment, they definitely have a connection, but she feels like there's no way she could even entertain the idea of being with him because she's just this lowly, basically servant girl. She's kind of a servant to her evil stepmother. Again, very Cinderella story. And then the rest of the book is kind of just her figuring out how to break away and do something with her life. He is on the search for this mystery woman and very much a Cinderella story type of deal. I feel like in general, I just can't really give the Bridgerton books more than like 3 stars because I don't think they're bad by any means. Like I'm obviously going through the series. I read multiple of the Bridgerton books last month and I'm going to continue doing so to finish the books, and I'm really enjoying the show. I really like seeing how the show transforms the books and makes them just more, I don't know, more complex, more twisty and turny and diverse and just more enthralling. The books are fine enough. I feel like they're very flat, very one note, very much like, here's our 2 characters, eventually they're gonna fall in love. Like it's the same cookie cutter story, which to be fair, that's kind of what I expect in a romance. And I do like that each of these books has a different kind of trope that's going on. Like it's not the exact same copy and paste story, but I just feel like I can't give them more than like a 3-star rating just because they're not like favorites of mine. I feel like 5 stars, like it's my whole entire life, which I did not actually read a 5-star book in the month of July. But 5-star, like I get this special feeling. It is my new reason for living. 4-star means I loved it. Like it was great. I would consider it like a well-loved book in my collection, like something I would even consider rereading and definitely recommending to other people. 3-star books are books that were just fine. I don't think they would be all of your cup of teas necessarily. Like some people might like it, some people might not. Even myself, like there were things I liked about it, maybe things that I didn't, or maybe I just didn't feel like it was worthy of 4 stars. 2 stars means I did not like it. Like just point blank did not like it. 1 star, if I even give something a 1 star, I'm more likely to DNF something before I give it a 1 star. But yeah, that's kind of my general way of rating things. I'm using some of my Pink Pearl Ease droplet from Fenty. I like to add a little bit of something illuminating when I go in with my cream and liquid blushes, which today my choice is Nearly Mauve from Rare Beauty. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of this before I go in with my powders. But yeah, overall, I think the Bridgerton books are entertaining enough. I just, as a blanket rule, don't feel like I can give them more than 3 stars. But I will say, this one so far has been my favorite. I really enjoyed Benedict's story. I really enjoyed getting to know Sophie. I thought the Cinderella story kind of trope was very cute. It was a fun time. The next book I read, which I do not have anymore, I'd picked it up at a little free library in my town. I made an exchange for another book, and then I've since traded with a friend for other books. But it was my first Ellen Hildebrandt book. It was Here's to Us. This was very much a story about grief and various factors of a family kind of coming together during this time of grief. But despite it being about that, it wasn't horribly sad. It was more of a complex kind of figuring out what these characters feel and how they intertwine and like what they are hoping to get out of the world, really. It was more of a character sort of story rather than plot, if that makes sense. There wasn't a whole lot of plot here. This takes place in Nantucket. From what I understand, all of Ellen Hildebrandt's books take place in Nantucket, which I really enjoyed that setting. Not that I've ever been, but I felt like I was there. I feel like she was very descriptive with the setting. Basically, we have our celebrity chef, Deacon Thorpe. I'm going in with my e.l.f. Halo Glow powder now. He has this summer house in Nantucket that he loves. He loves it there more than anything. Well, he has a sudden death, and now various parts of his family need to come together in hopes to save this house, because the house basically went to all 3 of his previous wives. His high school sweetheart wife, his second wife, and then the most recent wife, which I don't even think they were together anymore by the time he passed away. I think they were all just ex-wives at that point. We're getting all these different point of views. We're getting all the wives, all the children who are all grown at this point, kind of getting glimpses of different aspects of his life, how his different marriages like came together and then fell apart. And it was definitely different for me. I feel like this was more like literary fiction vibes than I usually go for, but I did find it pretty entertaining. I liked just getting into the nuances of all these different characters. Again, very not plot driven at all. Like the main plot was just like what's gonna happen to this house. It was such a like put it on the back burner kind of plot, very much more centered around what these characters are thinking and feeling. But I enjoyed getting to know all of them. I enjoyed getting to know all the different quirks, getting to know more about Deacon's past, getting to know his children and how they're feeling about the situation. It was very much a good kind of like bringing people together who otherwise are not very connected at all. And overall, I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars just because I don't think it's something that like I'm obsessed with, you know, like I'm not itching to read another one of her books right now, but I might read more of her books at some point. I'm very curious. I don't know if I'll go out of my way to buy them because I don't think this is my like go-to genre, you know, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Like if you have any specific recommendations of books from her that you think I would enjoy. Are they all kind of more character focused and not so much plot, or was this like very different? I'm very curious if Here's to Us is kind of like just the general vibe of her books, or if that was very different, you know? That's just kind of how I feel. I'm gonna take just a little bit of my NYX High Glass powder just to set the perimeters of my face. This is unfortunately not available anymore, and I'm pretty okay with that, but I do just want to continue trying to use this up since I have a couple more that I stockpiled forever ago. The next book I read was Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimano. I might be saying that wrong. This was fun. This was kind of like a funny murder mystery thriller-esque. I don't feel like it was like super like thriller, but it was more like murder mystery comedy, if you will. I need a lip mask more than anything really quick. I'm just gonna go in with my Sigma one before I continue on with my blush. And I'll be using the new Baked Blush palette from Bella Beauty Bar. I've been loving this. I'm gonna use the shade Macaron. I'm gonna use my Fantasy Cosmetica F02 brush. I'm just gonna dust this on. I wanted kind of a lighter blush today, surprisingly. But basically, Finlay Donovan is a single mother of 2. Her ex and her butt heads all the time. They're separated. She's doing things on her own. She's a writer. She writes thriller novels. And one day she's meeting with her like publisher or agent or what have you. And she's discussing the plot of one of her books and talking about how she needs like extensions to the deadlines and all these things. Well, somebody at this restaurant where they're having their meeting overhears her and completely mistakes her for being an actual like hit woman type thing. So she slips her a cryptic note offering her lots of money basically to dispose of her problem husband. She obviously is skeptical of this whole situation at first, but I mean, it's a lot of money. She ends up thinking about it and then starting to get involved and then trying to back away, but then it turns out he actually does end up dead. And now she's kind of involved in this murder investigation. She's trying to figure out what actually happened to this dude since she didn't kill him. She doesn't know how he turned up dead. It was super fast paced. It was funny. I wasn't really sure like what direction things were gonna go. I liked seeing just like how all these things kept like chain reaction unfolding around her that she wasn't planning for. It was fun. I feel like it was a unique take on like a murder mystery type of book. I think there's 2 others in the series. I don't know if I'm super itching to get to them right now. I might at some point. I've heard mixed things about the other books in the series. Like some people say they're good. Some people say only the first one was good. So I don't know. Maybe I will at some point. I was told the same things about like the Good Girl's Guide to Murder books and I liked all of them. So I was glad that I continued on that series. So maybe I'd feel the same about this. Obviously let me know if you've read the other books in the series, if it's something worth picking up or if I should just consider this one a one and done. But I liked her character. I thought she was funny. I liked the different side characters that got brought in. It was a pretty entertaining, fast-paced read. I feel like if you're into the murder mystery kind of vibes, but want something that's a little more funny and lighthearted, I think you'd probably like this. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I greatly enjoyed it. I almost just gave it 3 because I was like, I don't know if this is like a new, like, favorites type thing, especially because I wasn't sure if I was itching to continue the series, but I was like, you know, even if I didn't continue the series, just this as a standalone was very just fast-paced and entertaining and witty, and I enjoyed it, so 4 stars felt right. I'm gonna work on my brows now with my Milk Makeup Tubing Brow Gel while we talk about the next book, which was the 4th Bridgerton book. I've been reading just all of these on my Kindle through the Libby app. And this was Penelope and Colin's story, so I have to imagine this is what the majority of season 3 on the show relates to. But spoiler alert, in case you are not caught up at all, or if you care about the spoilers, just maybe skip this a little bit because things in this book spoil events even at the end of season 1 of the show because things kind of take a different turn in the show. But it's not that deep, I promise you. But basically, you find out in this book that Penelope is Lady Whistledown. She's been churning at the rumor mill, doing all the daily gossip for years and years in this world, which you find that out at the end of season 1 of the show, which I actually liked going into this book knowing that. I don't know. I kind of liked already knowing that she was because it made puzzle pieces connect different. I don't know. I like kind of sometimes knowing what's going to happen and then seeing how it connects. Only sometimes though, like generally I don't like spoilers, but this felt, I don't know, correct to know what I knew. But basically, she has been longtime friends with Colin forever. Colin is one of the Bridgertons. Penelope is one of the Featheringtons. She's definitely a bit more of like a shy, timid sort of character. She's not super outgoing and romancing with other people. Colin is very much like a Bridgerton. They're very charismatic. They've been friends for such a long time. She's always pined after him, but he has not ever seen her that way until eventually he does start to see her that way. One thing leads to another. It's basically just your friends to lovers sort of romance. I did feel like Colin was very annoying at points in this book. I was like, oh my gosh, give me a break. I did enjoy this one. I was very ready to get to their story and see kind of how they finally get together and things like that. I'm very excited to see how it plays out in the show itself because I've heard a lot of people love that season. But yeah, again, just 3 stars. Can't really give the Bridgertons more than that. And again, that's not even in a negative way. I don't see 3 stars as a negative. I just see it as like, these are good. I enjoy them. They're entertaining. But I'm not obsessed. An obsession, though, is Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. This is the first one of the Butcher and Blackbird trilogy, or I guess the Ruinous Love trilogy. The third one isn't out yet. The second one came out recently. I need to spray my face so I can move on to my eyes. I was kind of hesitant to dive into this. I've been wanting to read it for a while, but I was just worried it would be too dark for me because I've heard this is very much in that dark romance sort of category. I'm going to be using my DD Signature brown primer today because I want to do a big wing with this and then top shadow on top of it. So I'm just going to start kind of forming my wing as I talk with you. Basically, we have our two characters, Sloane and Rowan. Their like kind of nicknames are Butcher and Blackbird. They're basically both serial killers that kill other serial killers. Very Dexter vibes, trying to rid the world of the most horrible people. And through happenstance, like right at the beginning of the book, they encounter each other. Like they'd both heard of each other because they are fairly famous for what they do. And it starts out so gross. There's definitely gross stuff in this book with the different murders and stuff. So if that's not your thing, you would not like this. I went into it expecting it, so it wasn't a shock to me or anything. But basically, one thing leads to another. They interact. They start helping each other out. They start forming a little bit of an alliance. They start playing this game every so often where they have the same target, and it's like whoever can kill such and such person first is the winner. Very much a like strangers to friends to lovers sort of vibe. I loved the banter. I loved the connection between them. I thought they were so funny. Honestly, I thought this was going to be like more dark than it was. Like I've seen people describe it as a dark romance. I haven't really delved into a lot of dark romance, so I can't really compare, but I just can't imagine this was that dark compared to some other things. Like there were definitely gross stuff with the murders, and even some of the spicy scenes were a little intense for what I typically go for. And I do like some spice in my books. This was a little out of my comfort zone, but for the most part, I just found this to be really funny, really enjoyable. This was almost a 5 stars. The only reason I didn't give it a perfect 5 stars was just because some parts were a little out of my comfort zone. But again, it wasn't too over the top for me or anything. I'm very excited to get to the second book. I'm starting it sometime this month, in the month of August, and I'm just excited. I'm excited to see more characters. I know the second book is more of an enemies to lovers between our two characters, and I cannot wait. I'm eating it up. It was definitely my favorite book of the month, like literally almost a 5 star. The next book I read was Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. It was the second book in the Divine Rivals duology. This came out at the end of last year, and I'd read the first one at the end of last year as well. And that book did disappoint me a little bit, the first one, just in the sense of like, I went into it expecting it to become like a new favorite because people were hyping it up so much, like claiming it to be like one of their favorite fantasies they've ever read, stuff like that, which, not to knock them, like everyone has different tastes and preferences. I just felt like it was very, I don't know, very much just like kind of a typical rivals to lovers story with a little bit of like a historical element with a sprinkle of fantasy because there's like gods and stuff like that. They communicate through magical typewriters. That's kind of how they like start to communicate on more of a friend level and less of a rival level. I can't really give you too many details about this book specifically because if I did, it would spoil things in the first book for those of you who are interested in it, but I didn't think it was bad. It definitely follows up to that first book, but at the same time, it kind of was exactly what I was expecting. I feel like it did nothing that I wasn't anticipating to happen. I feel like it was a good follow-up to the first book, I suppose, but it didn't really give me anything new. I don't know. I gave it 3 stars. Again, I didn't think it was bad. Very fast-paced, very quick, very easy. But I don't know. Something about our main characters in this duology I just wasn't super invested in. I thought it was just okay. And even though I wasn't super invested in these characters, it was still nice to see Roman and Iris again and just kind of catch back up with them because it'd been over half a year since I read the first book. I'm going to add a little bit of my NYX glitter primer now, just a smidgen of it before I start going in with my shimmers. But overall, I guess I'm glad I read it. I wouldn't have wanted to leave the first one with no follow-up because the first one definitely leaves on a cliffhanger. They're meant to be a 2-part book, but I don't know. They're definitely not my top favorites, you know? I feel like 3 stars was fair because I don't think they're bad. I just think they're not perfect for me. I'm going to be going in with my Molten Chromes from Bella Beauty Bar. I've really been enjoying this. I did a look yesterday for Instagram and YouTube Shorts, pairing this with the Melted Mattes. That will probably already be up by the time this video goes up. But I want to use these two today. I want Molten all over my lid, and I want to use Melt as my inner corner and face highlight. The shifts that are in those two shades are really, really pretty. So I had a vision for this look, and I'm continuing on with it. Moving on to the next book, I read Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I picked this up discounted many months ago. Like, I've had this sitting on my shelf for a hot minute, and I finally got around to reading it. I've enjoyed Tessa Bailey's books, although I feel like hit or miss. Like, I loved It Happened One Summer so much. It was so good. I think that's what it was called. The follow-up to that, Hook, Line, and Sinker, was only okay. It didn't hit quite the same. Wreck the Halls, I guess, also was only okay. I guess maybe I've really only had one big hit from her, because this book also wasn't a huge hit. It was fine. It was a fluffy little romance. I feel like I needed something just very easy and brainless after just all the stuff I'd read previous to that. We have our main girl, Hallie. She basically helps with this, not even helps, like she took over this landscaping gardener type job that her now deceased grandmother had started. I did really like the small town setting as well. I thought that was really cute, but basically she's been pining after this guy Julian since they were like in high school. They had a moment where they almost kissed at his family's estate, and then it just never turned into anything, but she's been pining after him ever since. Well, she takes on a job doing the gardening at his family's estate. Well, he just so happens to be in town. He's like on sabbatical from his job, and he's trying to just like catch up on his writing or something like that. He doesn't remember her, but she definitely remembers him. They start to just have some flirty banter back and forth. Kind of turns into a little bit of a friendship, but there's definitely tension there right from the get-go. Not so much insta-lovey, but there's definitely that immediate attraction between them. Although, of course, he doesn't remember that she's from his past in any way until she brings it up to him. I feel like I'm doing a bad job describing this book, but obviously I don't want to like spoil the entire plot, but basically it was just kind of a, I don't know, flirtatious banter as it continues to grow and form. At one point she starts writing him anonymous love letters, which I honestly feel like was very pointless. Like, that comes from the title of the book, Secretly Yours, like it's a anonymous love letter sort of situation, but I feel like that was so pointless in this. She like lays her heart out. He starts to respond to the letters, and then he feels bad that he's responding to these letters when he wants to be talking to Hallie, where it's Hallie the whole time. And then she gets jealous that he's responding to these letters, not knowing that it's her. It's just a whole thing, and I feel like that didn't really matter for the book itself. Overall, I gave it a 3 stars. I wasn't like a horrible read or anything, but I did find a hard time being invested in these characters. I feel like I cared more about just the town itself and the side characters more than anything. There is another book in this series, which I actually wasn't super excited or even intending on reading, but then I saw the second one at a discount at a Second and Charles recently, and my mom took me to all the bookstores in my town to get me a book at all 4 of them for my birthday, so that's the one that I picked. So hopefully I like that one better. That one's going to be dealing with his sister, who I did like the glimpses of her we got in this book. So maybe I'll like that one a lot more. I don't mind Tessa Bailey's writing or anything, but just sometimes I'm not invested in the characters. I don't know what it is. Like, It Happened One Summer was so good, and I want another one of her books to hit hard like that one did. I'm going to use just like a brown eye pencil from Rare Beauty to kind of smoke out my lower lash line and kind of stamp some of that shimmer down here as well. Just going for a very shimmer heavy sort of look today, you know? I'm actually just gonna use my finger even because I don't feel like grabbing a pencil brush. But overall, I ended up just giving that one a 3 stars. It was fine. It was entertaining enough. Hopefully the second one's better. The next book I read was To Sir Philip with Love. This is the 5th Bridgerton book. This is Eloise's story, which I was so excited to get into because I love Eloise's character both in the show and in the books, and I was excited just to get more of her. So basically, and again, this spoils some events that happen in the show, so if you don't want to be spoiled, obviously skip this stuff, but basically in season 1 of the show, we have this character Marina who is a cousin to the Featheringtons. In the books, she's a cousin to the Bridgertons. Well, Marina had gotten pregnant while with her like military partner. He died in battle, so then the father of the baby's brother ends up swooping in, marrying Marina. They go off. That's all we see of her in the TV show in season 1. Well, in the prologue of this, that's basically what had happened, except again, she's a cousin to the Bridgertons, not the Featheringtons. Basically, time has gone on. She's married to someone that she doesn't really want to be with because this isn't the person that she was in love with. That person is no longer with us. She's had the twins. All is happening. She's very unhappy. She's so depressed. Through various circumstances, she ends up getting sick and passing away. I don't want to like delve into it too much. So she's no longer with us. So Philip, he now has the children by himself. Ever since Marina's death, Eloise has been writing to Philip, just offering her condolences. Through their letters, they have been just kind of going back and forth with some banter, getting to know each other. He basically offers to marry her at one point, and then she just shows up at his house because she's astounded that he even said that. And they're trying to navigate like if they even want to be together. It's a whole thing. I guess sort of a friends to lovers sort of situation, but they didn't like really know each other in real life at first. It was fun. I liked the children in the book. I thought they were cute. I don't usually like children in books, but I thought they were cute. I liked the kind of almost found family aspect to it all, where she just really integrates herself with the children, becomes very much a mother figure. She's figuring out like what she wants out of life. He's trying to figure out like who he wants to be with. Because of course in these times, like there's that pressure just to like be married in general, like not even for love, but just for the status of it all. So they're trying to navigate like what they want to be with each other. Overall, it was cute. Again, 3 stars. They're very simple and easy, but I'm very excited to see if this gets a season at some point. I'm excited to see what evolves with that, because in season 2, at least, again, I haven't seen season 3, so more might happen, but she's mentioned in season 2 about her letters and her correspondence, and I'm like, is she talking to Philip? I need to know. I need to know what's happening. This is so sparkly. Like the holographic reflex that are in here are so cool. I really like that. I still have 5 books to go. My goodness, I read so many books. The next book I read was Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is the 2nd book in the Caraval trilogy. And again, because this is a multi-series thing where they all connect to each other, I don't want to dive too much into what happens in this book because it will spoil things that happened at the end of book number 1, but just know that this is just continuing on from what happened in book number 1. We're getting more insight into what these sisters want, what they're going through. There's another Caraval happening. We're trying to figure out who Legend is, who runs Caraval, all these unanswered questions. I really enjoyed it. I liked just unraveling more information. I don't think I liked this one as much as book number 1, but I still really liked it. I liked seeing how things unraveled. We're getting stuff from the girl's past. We're learning about the mother who is not in the picture in book 1. So it was just interesting. It kind of like answered some questions and filled some gaps and things like that. And it got me excited to get into book number 3. Again, that's very vague, but I don't want to spoil book number 1. But I gave that one a 4 stars as well. The next book I read was Blast from the Past by Lucy Score. This is the 3rd book in the Riley Thorne series. I've really been enjoying these books. I'll be reading the 4th one very soon. The 4th one is the most recent one that has come out. I don't know if I want lashes today or just mascara. I guess I will decide. I'm gonna use this little tiny man-eater one from Tarte. I'll probably do lashes. Why not? Why not? But basically, we have our main character, Riley. She is a psychic. She has since, obviously, as many books have happened, been teamed up with her private investigator love interest. His name is Nick. They basically help each other out solving these different crimes throughout these different books, these unsolved things, these murder investigations and what have you. So more of that kind of thing is happening in this book. She's just continuing trying to harness her abilities more and more. There is somebody from Nick's past that has been deemed as like dead or at least missing, and she suddenly shows up, but things have gone so different and they're trying to figure out like what's going on with her. Is she telling the truth? What's happened in her past? Why is she here now? So just kind of a fun little mixture of romance mixed with the little bit of like crime mystery aspect. They're very fun. They're very entertaining. And I like how like different these are from other Lucy Score books, in the sense that there is that element of mystery solving happening, because most of her other books, from what I've read so far, are very just like romance focused, which are great. I love her romances. She's one of my favorite romance authors ever. But it's nice to see kind of a twist to that, and I'm excited to get into the 4th book. I hope she just continues to make more and more of these, because I've been eating them up. They're so quick and fun, and I love all the side characters. She lives like in this big house with all these elderly folk and they're all just so funny and quirky and weird, and I love them. I think I will put on lashes. These are my Whisper half lashes from Bright Lashes, especially because I have 3 more books to talk about, so might as well. I'm gonna be here chatting anyway. The 3rd book I read was a gift from one of you, and I'm so thankful for it. A Broken Blade. It's part of the Halfling Saga by Melissa Blair. This was so good. There are 3 books out currently. There's 1 on its way. This was probably my 2nd favorite book of the month after Butcher and Blackbird. We have our main character, Kira. Basically, in this world, there are fae, there are elves, there are halflings, and there are humans. I think those are the main things we see. And in the human part of the world, the halflings, they're trying to do away with them. The king wants nothing to do with them. Kira is the king's blade, basically his personal like spy and assassin to help eradicate the world of what he deems are not supposed to be around. She gets sent on a mission to find this being called the Shadow, because the king thinks that he's going to disrupt his place in the world. She goes out into the lands of the Fae, trying to find her target. She realizes things are not what they seem. Things she's been told are not matching up with what is actually reality. She's trying to figure out who her enemy actually is in this situation. She ends up going off on a quest to basically save her entire kingdom. Again, I don't want to delve too much into all of the details, because I feel like those are really fun to unfold on yourself. I feel like the synopsis of the book is very vague, so I also want to keep it very vague. But this was so good. I already have the 2nd and 3rd books. I will be diving into them as soon as possible. I might space them out a little bit, like I might only read one of them next month and then I'll save the other one for September, because I'm really invested in this world. I love this just combination of characters. There's so many different people happening. I feel like it's been a minute since I've been super invested in like a fantasy series, ever since Throne of Glass, really, unless you count things like Caraval. But that feels a little bit different. I don't know. That feels like a different category of fantasy, but like something like this where it's a little bit higher of fantasy, I haven't been invested in something in a while. So I'm really excited to be in this world. So I'm very happy I got this gift, because I don't know if I would have like thought to pick this up on my own. I'd never even heard of it until I got it as a gift. So very appreciative. This was great. I gave it 4 stars. It was so good. I'm very curious to see where the book and the world and the characters all go from here. The next book I read, I was looking for this bookmark. I found it. I was literally looking for this last night, but I read A Summer's End in the Shady Hollow series by Juno Black. These are basically cozy little murder mysteries. They are so freaking cute and adorable, which I know it's weird to call a murder mystery cute and adorable, but these are. All of the characters in these books are animals. This is the 5th one in the series. Our main character is always Vera Vixen. She's a fox and an investigative reporter. I always say, picture these characters as like in Fantastic Mr. Fox, where they wear like clothes and they have their little jobs and they interact with each other. It is so freaking cute. Usually our stories and different investigations and mysteries are happening in the town of Shady Hollow. This book is a little bit different. We are venturing to a place called Summer's End. Vera is accompanying her raven friend Lenner on a like school field trip. She's chaperoning, and when they get to Summer's End, a murder happens. A murder occurs, and she is on the case trying to figure out what happens. I just love these. They're so cute and simple and adorable. They're definitely not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to like wrap their heads around the like animal side of things, like how they're not people, but they're basically people. They just look like animals in a way. But they're very cute. They're adorable. I'm so glad the new one came out. This is the newest one. It just came out in July. But I enjoyed it. Similar to Bridgerton though, I feel like I can't really give these more than 3 stars, just because as cute as I think they are and as much as I'm enjoying reading them, and I'll continue to read them as long as they continue to come out, I just don't think they're like life-changing for me. They're nothing that I'm like, oh my gosh, these are like top favorite books in the world. But they're just cute, little cozy, kind of break things up when I'm reading other things. I enjoy them. I enjoy them a lot. In the past, I used to do like 0.5 stars and stuff like that. I changed my rating system to just be more simple, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I used to give those closer to like 3.5, 3.75, if that matters to you. Like they're on the cusp of being close to a 4-star. I just feel like they aren't quite in that same category as like other 4-star books I read. And the final book that I read in the month of July was the 6th Bridgerton book. So I only have 2 more to go. And I'll be honest, as I was starting this book, I was like, I don't know how much I care about this series anymore. I really debated like quitting on this book and just not continuing. And not even to slight this book specifically, like I was really interested in getting some Francesca because I don't really know her. I think she has more of a moment in season 3 of the show from what I understand, but at this point in seasons 1 and season 2 and in the book so far, she's very much not a major character. She's very separated from the other Bridgertons. So I was excited to get to know her more, but I don't know. I was kind of like, am I getting Bridgertoned out? I don't know. So I think I might just slow down on the last 2 books. Like I might read the 7th book by the end of August, and then I'll read the 8th book in September. I feel like maybe I just read too many in this month because I read 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I read 5 of them. That is a lot. That's a lot of Bridgerton. But I was interested in getting to know Francesca's story. Basically, she had gotten married at one point to, oh my gosh, I just finished this book and I'm forgetting everybody's names. Was it John? I think his name was John. Sure, it doesn't say on the synopsis, but we'll go with John. I think that was his name. She was married to John at one point. He ends up getting sick and passing away, so she is now widowed. Throughout her marriage with John, she had this kind of bantery friendship with his cousin Michael, and he had been pining after her basically long term. Like he's always been kind of pining after her, but there was obviously nothing he could do because she was married to his cousin. Well, now that the cousin is deceased, Michael is in this predicament where he's like, I would love nothing more than to be with her, but how am I supposed to do that? She was with my cousin. Like, this isn't right. This isn't meant for me. They even go a few years just simply not talking at all because they both feel kind of awkward about things because she's realizing she also kind of has feelings for him but doesn't want to. Obviously, eventually they reconnect again. Things start to happen in typical like romance book fashion. I'm torn with this book because I really liked her. I liked her character a lot, but I didn't really like Michael. I don't know. There were things about him. He was kind of possessive with her. I felt like once they finally kind of started to progress in their relationship, it just became very like, I don't know, possessive. I didn't like it. I didn't hate Michael. He's not the worst like male main character I've ever encountered, but I don't know. Something about him just wasn't my favorite, but I did really like her. But I have to be honest, overall, this might have been my least favorite Bridgerton book. It just, I don't know. It didn't fully hit for me the way some of the other ones did. But again, just solid 3 stars. I feel like they're fine. I am interested in seeing what happens with the last 2 Bridgerton siblings, Hyacinth and Gregory. But I do want to take a little bit of a break. I feel like I got a little Bridgertoned out by reading 5 of them in the month of July, but to be fair, they're all very quick reads. It's not hard to read 5 Bridgerton books. I feel like pretty much all of them can be read for me in like a 3-hour period, maybe 3.5 hours. I just need to do my lips now. I'm gonna use a little bit of the Gifted pencil from Rare Beauty just to kind of line a little bit and add some dimension. Overall, I had a pretty good reading month though. Like I definitely read some things that were kind of mid, but I also read some things that I really, really enjoyed. I'm very excited to continue in my reading journey. How many have I read so far this year? Let's take a peek. I set my goal to be 120 books, like averaging 10 books a month, which I've been surpassing. I am at 103 right now for the year. That's crazy. And it's like not a competition. If all you can manage to read are like 1 book a month, like I'm so happy for you. That's amazing. It's just my favorite thing. I love reading. I love spending my time just getting lost in a book and in another world. Life in particular has had me feeling very anxious lately, and having some escapism in a book has been wonderful. And I'm just gonna top a gloss over top. This is the Elixir Lip Glaze from Kaleidos. I have so many books I'm looking forward to reading in the month of August. In my most recent vlog, which I believe is the video before this video, I did pick out my August TBR. So if you're curious about the books that I'm aiming to read this month, you can go check out my latest vlog. I also did some book shopping. It was a lot of fun. And this is the look. I like it. I think this is cute. I'm just going to fluff out my hair and maybe put on some jewelry. And I'll return. Thanks so much for watching. I just had so much fun. I could rattle on and on about books forever. I'm so glad I started doing this series over a year ago. It's just been so much fun to chat about everything I've read. It brings me so much joy. I love hearing what you've read, what you think about the books that I've read. I love getting your book recommendations. I've gotten so many recommendations from you guys, and I love it. I'm always writing down recommendations, so feel free to leave them down below. If you made it to the end of this video, leave some book emojis, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel out a lot, and if you're not already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm Baddie Bean there as well. Also, if you want to, you can subscribe. I'm posting most days over here, and you can join my channel memberships. The link to sign up will be down below. You'll get fun little perks, including a members only video once a month. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.